Welcome to 5-Star Company Culture with your host, Josh Cunningham. In this podcast, we explore how culture is the key to unlocking massive profits and unprecedented freedom. Discover insights, strategies, and inspiring stories to transform your life and business. Here's your host, Josh Cunningham.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the 5-Star Company Culture podcast. I'm your host, Josh Cunningham, the founder and CEO here at 5-Star Company Culture, also the founder and CEO of rokrbox, an inside sales assistant solution for real estate agents all across the country. We've been doing this for 10 years. We've handled over 3 million internet leads. We've hired and trained over 400 inside sales assistants. And I got to tell you, our secret sauce, the key to success here, has been having a 5-star company culture, giving people the empowerment to grow themselves professionally, to attract and retain top quality talent, to create wonderful, amazing customer experiences. And that is exactly what this podcast is all about. And most importantly, as an entrepreneur, all of those awesome things have created freedom and profits in my life as a business owner as well, to live the dream life that I want to. So here we are today to share with you some more insights, some more stories, some more perspectives about how creating an environment, creating a foundation for people to thrive in a work environment is going to unlock some freedom in your life as a business owner. And today we've got a very special guest, Patrick Williams, award-winning artist, joining us from Omaha, Nebraska. How's it going, Patrick?
Going well, Josh.
Thanks so much for being here today. And Patrick's got a really incredible story. Like I said, he is an award-winning artist, and he really focuses on experiments with creativity and innovation, and really assisting people in understanding creativity, not only in their personal lives, but in their business lives as well. So we thought he'd be a great guest to have here on the podcast today to shed some light on how you can tap into that. Because again, you don't want to live to work, you don't want to live to work, but you want to work to live, right? You want to be able to find some fulfillment, some satisfaction in the things that we do in life. And being able to tap into that creative element really creates a lot of fulfillment in your work. So Patrick, I'll let you take it away. Why don't you kind of give our audience here a little bit of backstory into your professional career and how you're helping people in the professional world unlock and understand that creativity in their life.
You bet. I've been an artist since age of 10. I have a TEDx talk called Creativity Lost and Found, which sort of explains my arc of becoming an artist and then a little bit of my philosophy of creativity. And that's what I implement when I'm working with businesses and entrepreneurs, and especially entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are, I found out quickly as I was getting into this work, entrepreneurs are very much like artists. Mm-hmm. They are optimally obsessed with their work, mm-hmm. To push, to strive, to come up with as many new approaches and ideas as possible. And that's, pretty much a definition of an artist also.
Right.
So I found that there's a real remarkable rapport with entrepreneurs because they have that really deep drive as artists also do. And so when I found out about your podcast and I did a little research and then a little bit more thinking, one of my exercises that I do with groups or teams is to invite them to explore culture, mm-hmm. with a capital C. So there's what you're talking about is I love it. It's super important. But then I was thinking about, well, what is another part of culture? And we have culture in our societies as the arts. So one of the projects or programs or exercises I have teams do is, as a group, or as if there's like a group of 10 in your team, to go to a dance performance, mm-hmm. together, mm-hmm. as a group, and then talk about it and see how it influences your work life, your home life, just the way you're thinking. Go to a museum together or a number of art galleries together. Go to see a symphony, or a hip hop performance. Mm-hmm. Things that will take you into the capital C culture, correct? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, these big aspects of our civilization, so to speak.
Right.
So that culture is often, I find, somewhat non-existent inside of a workplace, partly because there's not much time, and you can't just take off work in the middle of the day and go to the museum. You might be able to, depending on what your culture in your workspace is like.
Right.
So that exercise allows people to be in a completely different environment, and that always is adding to how you relate to the rest of your world, how you relate to your job, the time spent in work, your focus, your dedication, and part of my work is with intangibles. Creativity is intangible, and that really gets people in the business world and entrepreneurs a little bit nervous, because they want things, they want to see it in all the steps, all the T's and I's dotted and crossed, and have an assurance that this is going to work. So I invite people to be a little bit more flexible in not knowing exactly how going to a hip hop performance is going to help in the office space when you're making phone calls, right?
Yep.
So, and that's part of the magic, in a way, of the intangible, is that I don't know as an artist why I have some of the things specifically I have in my studio, but I know they're interesting, and I want to have them there. I want to go to a dance. I want to go to, we're going tonight, my wife and I are going to a trumpet player, a guitar player, and a dancer, and it's all improv. So they don't know what they're going to do, but because of who they are, they know something interesting is going to happen. And so when a person, say your team goes to this performance that we're going to tonight, you have no idea how this is going to affect your life, your workspace, anything, your relationships, but I guarantee that it does. Because as an artist and other artists, my wife's an artist, this is what we communicate about. This is what we talk about, how we saw a film by chance. She rented it, and called Whiplash. Super intense film about a drummer and his teacher, basically. It was really powerful and emotionally intense. And that has had ripple effects about how I had reflected about my teachers, how I reflect about my teaching. So all of these moments in our let's say extracurricular activities, or just activities that you as the boss say, hey everybody, we're gonna go to the museum at the university. Let's meet Saturday. It'll be like a couple hours. We can hang out, have some beers or whatever afterwards, and chat about what you liked, what you didn't like, or how, and even ask questions about how it's related to work. And that just pushes people. So in the assignments that I give for, let's say, a team, and they're working on the design of this widget, whatever they're working on, I invite them, when they're in, let's say they're going to see a jazz saxophonist play, I invite them to keep that widget problem in their consciousness as they're there. So it's like a net, right? It's like a spider's web that gathers any little bits of information that could add to, oh my gosh, that totally helped me with this part of the problem. We don't know what, I can't say what that might be, but I can help them in the methodology to construct their web. Right. Because most people, a lot of people don't even have a web. And then maybe somebody has a web, but it has only one string. And, the spider knows that, I'm not going to catch anything with just one strand across the window. So,
Yeah.
each of these exercises puts another strand on the string of the web, so they can gather in more tidbits, so to speak.
That's a really great analogy, and that's a really incredible perspective as well. I've always said that business is very much an art and a science, and even the arts themselves, there are certain things that are known, right? Like different notes and different scales and different styles of dance or whatever that might be. But then, like you said, the really creative element in there, is that artist coming out, and I see that with many of the different entrepreneurial groups that I'm a part of. There are certain facts and figures that need to be followed sometimes when it comes to business,
Absolutely.
but the really fun, emotional side of it is getting to be creative, getting to explore and represent yourself in a different way than you never thought was possible. And
Right.
I also love what you say about how emotions create those ripple effects. As business owners, you're right, we're always so results driven. We've got to get the results. Well, where do the results come from? Those come from the actions that we take. Well, where do the actions that we take come from? That comes from the emotional state that we're in, right? The thoughts and the feelings, the internal dialogue, the stories that we're telling ourselves. And that's where I believe that, a company's core values, a company's beliefs, a company's, mission and purpose is derived from, is when you can align a group of people and create those connections. You can empower them to, do the right thing and to move the group to new heights, because there's a foundational belief, there's some values, and there's some things internally that cause people to feel a certain way. And when they feel a certain way, they're going to act and behave and create those positive results. So also a really great idea. If you guys haven't ever tried it, I mean, we're always sharing ideas here on the podcast about things that you can do with your team,
Totally.
outside the box strategies of what you can do with your team. We do tons of stuff here at rokrbox. We do, we're in a college town. So every year we do like a big pool party, and we do a big tailgate party, and we do a big Christmas party, and we do all these celebrations of success. But I really love that idea of just picking something, from the cultural element, and saying, hey, let's go watch this performing arts together. Or let's go, at one point there was a handful of employees that all went to a music festival together. And like
Perfect,
you said,
yeah.
it creates a unique experience that they'll remember. And when you can create those bonds outside of the office, when someone's not just clocking in and clocking out, but they're actually building relationships and building memories together.
Yep.
It makes it a place where, people, they don't feel like they're showing up to work, but they feel like they're showing up and hanging out with their friends and accomplishing goals together. So I love that idea there. If there's some performing arts in your area, if there's a museum, if there's a music festival, there's something going on, figure out a way to get your team to bond together and share those connections outside the office. That's really great insight, really great idea there. Any other tips for success or exercises that you have whenever you work with entrepreneurs or business owners on ways that they can tap into and learn a little bit more about being creative and innovative?
For sure. The biggest one that I believe is important, and this could be it can be used in a few different ways. So first and foremost, I highly encourage people to have a journal,
Mm-hmm.
and that you write in
Mm-hmm.
with a pen and ink, right? Rather than, so much of our life is on and with the screen, and I'm sure there are great apps out there that are journal apps.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I'm a somewhat an old-fashioned, I don't know if that's the right word, but old school. That's
Yeah.
a better term. So old school is writing in a journal. So I highly encourage people personally to
Mm-hmm.
have a journal.
Mm-hmm.
But then you can have a work journal. And
Mm-hmm.
especially for some, I love speaking with CEOs and founders and assisting them in it digs you into your center
Mm-hmm.
more profoundly, and you are totally an ideal. If you don't journal any yet, I highly encourage it, because you've said things about how important it is to have an awareness of the emotions in the culture of your workspace, and that's
Mm-hmm.
super. And in a journal, you personally can get to some of those somewhat fuzzy or gray areas in the emotional sphere of yourself, or you're holding that whole sphere in some ways, an emotional psychological sphere for your whole company.
Right.
So that's intense. That's big. So
There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, totally. Having a space just that you have for yourself to journal about that would be awesome. But also to have, if people are keeping a journal for their workspace, to have every once in a while ask the question to yourself, write down what am I feeling about the culture of our space. So journaling to me is all about questions. What am I feeling? What am I thinking? What am I wanting to do? Where do I want to go with this project, or that seems to be tanking, and I don't know, I should put that on hold, or whatever that might be. There's and then there's everyday things. In my journal, I write down, I'll write down talking to you tomorrow morning. I'll write down going to the event and what the event did. My wife and I keep a journal for our shared nonprofit. It's called D&D, Drinks and Dialogue. Every night we add to the journal about what we're talking about at the end of the day. So these are super. I believe that journaling is it's a superpower, basically. So keeping that, and then once and I journal every day, and I've been doing it for almost 25 years. And then I keep a reference journal. So after like 5 or 6 or 8 journals, then I'll go back through them and write down in my reference journal, oh, that was a big idea. That was a big date. This happened this day, and that was important. So then when my wife and I are thinking, remember that back in July of 2023, I talked to that guy, what was his name, and what did we talk about? I can go back and say, oh yeah, it was Josh Cunningham. And we talked about this, we had a great connection, or whatever it might be. So I can, it's not foolproof, right? But it is so rewarding to have a reference, like for you, as as a founder reference journal book. You can look back and say, okay, yeah, we were working on this part of culture in our company, and that was really working. I remember when we did that 2 years ago. We should try something kind of like that again, or try the same thing. It's just really, really useful. As you can tell, I'm super enthusiastic about journaling. It's just it adds so much to work, to my art, to my life, and etc.
Yeah. Well, as you said, it's a bit old school, if you want to use that phrase, but it's a lot of the keys to success in life are not some super complicated piece of technology or advancing, app or something digital, but it's really just those foundational skills, the mastery of the fundamentals, and taking the time to create that space, to create think time, and then the process of actually writing it out. I mean, I'm a huge fan of that as well. I've seen it over the last 10 years. We've hired and trained over 400 inside sales assistants, which are callers, and the first step of their training is to write out the script, because there's a learning and a teaching and a retention process that helps you internalize and memorize the words that you're going to say before they even say them. They're writing them, and that creates that internalization. Same thing when I'm an addict for continued education, so I'm always going to a conference. It seems like every single month I'm hopping on a plane, going to some conference to invest in my continued education. And what I like to do, what's worked for me, is a lot of times you'll see people, they got their technology out and they've got all their distractions and their bells and their whistles. I just simply take a pen and paper with me to the event, and I write out all of my notes, handwritten, because again, there's a process when you're actually writing something out onto the page. And then what I will do is when I come home from the event, what a lot of people do is they, just get buried in the daily grind, and they don't implement any ideas, and they don't take any action on all these wonderful things that they've just learned. But what I will do is I'll have a time block in my calendar to go back through my notes, and then I will type them up. So now I have a digital version of them, because I am a little bit old school and I'm a little bit new school as well. And
Perfect.
so I'll take my handwritten notes and I'll type them up. And so now I'm going back through that process again. So it might be a 2-3 day long event. And now I have a couple hours set aside and I'm going back through and I'm taking myself mentally back to that place where I was at, the things that I was learning, and I'm learning them again and reteaching them to myself by now typing them up. And then at that point, I've got now a digital copy. So if I do 2, 3, 4 years from now, think, oh, hey, what was that thing I learned? I
Yeah,
can go keyword phrase and search for it and go find it in all
perfect.
my digital notes. So that's always worked out really well for me. So I'm a huge fan of the journaling, huge fan of taking that time and that personal space to collect your thoughts and your ideas and your emotions, because that is what makes us different than computers. Is we have these things called emotions,
Absolutely.
and those lead to some creativity and some innovation. So hey Patrick, it's been a pleasure getting to chat with you today and get some insights and some tips on how to again assist people in understanding the foundation of creativity. If people want to know a little bit more about you or some of the ways that you can help them in their personal lives or in their business, I know your main website is patrickwilliams.com. What are some other ways they can get in touch with you if they're looking to explore more and learn more from you?
Sure. I have two other sites. Patrick Williams Stay Creative is basically my business innovation site.
Okay.
And Celebration Flower Paintings is not only flowers, but also I'm exploring some other nature work on there. And I have two Instagram sites.
Nice.
One is PMW Creativity, and one is PMW_camera.
Gotcha.
So either of those. The first one is I make a morning meditation drawing, which is
nice.
also an exercise that I do with folks. But this year I'm drawing 3 circles and making marks.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically usually the exercise is draw 2 circles and make marks.
Mm-hmm.
And then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. So I have, I don't know, 2,500 circles on
Wow.
my Instagram site.
So, wow, that's phenomenal.
And it's the concept of how do we surprise ourselves over and over and over again. And in a way, that's what business is about. You got to keep it alive. Otherwise, the customer is going to be like, oh, whatever.
Yep. You got to keep creating and innovating. So couldn't have said it better myself. But thanks again for your time, Patrick. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. And be sure to follow him on his Instagram handles and check out his website as well for more details. But thanks as always for our listeners. Don't worry, we'll have more guests and more insights for you in future episodes. So be sure to subscribe and share as you would like to. And be sure to follow us on our social handles as well. Instagram, Twitter, well, you name it, it's culture is the key, because that is true. Culture is the key to unlocking massive profits and freedom in your life as a business owner and entrepreneur. So thanks again, Patrick.
Thank you, Josh.
And we'll see you next time. Take care.
You bet. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to 5-Star Company Culture with Josh Cunningham. Embrace these lessons to elevate your business and join the ranks of thriving organizations. Stay tuned for more episodes. And until next time, remember, culture is the key to your success.